All right, and another day, another Friday actually. So where are we at? 10, no, 11:06 on 25th of October. That's what a few hours less sleep does. A little bit scrambled in the morning here. Anyway, let's jump into things and start off with DXY. So we can sort of see that. Look, it played out perfectly actually from what we were looking at yesterday. So obviously, just a bit of a recap. This was the trend line we were sort of looking at. You can see where we'd sort of like started to move down towards this test over here. We already sort of worked out that this was a high time frame sort of area where we've seen sellers way back. I mean, this is on the 1 hour here, so going back to the zone over here. If we put it on the daily, you can probably see it a little bit better. It's problem with swapping time frames around. Lose where you're up to. So yeah, we've got the body fill in this area over here. So this is the start of where we were like, okay, cool. We're going to potentially see some selling, and as you can see, that was quite a strong rejection. That's actually an engulfing daily candle there. I mean, engulfing technically, I mean, look, that was technically a gap up and that's a gap down. So, I mean, engulfing candles are generally a sign of a continuation in the direction of that sort of candle. So that sort of says that, look, you know what, we might finally be seeing a little bit more cooling of DXY around this area. We may have not necessarily hit the top, but hit this little sort of temporary top. But I mean, if you look back only just a couple of days, we also had this engulfing day here, which was Friday last week. And obviously, bang, you can see what happened with that there. So look, it's not a guarantee, but it is a start for it all. So let's get back onto the lower time frame. So as I was calling it yesterday, look, this is a little area that we were interested in. We've seen it on the way up. It was a little ledge for them to get that last push up. Provided that little sort of bounce for them up over here. Had the this actual push was off. I think it was actually maybe the Euro PMI. About 6 o'clock there, so this is on the 1 hour. So yeah, about 6:30 last time would have been Euro PMI, and obviously as you can see, pushed up and then bang slams down, and pretty much just sort of continued on its way down there. So look, it's oversold. It's starting to tip up here. We've got a tiny little gap up to sort of start the day for it over here. So look, I mean, there's certainly a chance that we could see this push up a little bit and then sort of back down. Areas in which I'd like to sort of see what happens is probably just up around over here. So even if we move this up just a touch, because this is the congestion over here, so it's hard to sort of really call. So more recently, obviously, as in last night, this was an area which were buyers were obviously trying to hold. As you can see, this is on the 1 hour candle. So one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 candles through this period. Also 7 hours, they held this, and then eventually 2 o'clock and that boom, they let it go, and it went down underneath there, as you can see. So from a normal sort of structural standpoint, you've broken the channel or broken the rising support. You've done your back test of the breakout level, back test on this little sort of short-term falling sort of resistance, which we can drag down now because this will be important later on if we do see a bit of a rally up. So if we do see a little bit of a push on DXY, you would think you may sort of see some sort of continuation like this, based on the idea that we had the engulfing, we had this little sort of support area held for quite a few hours. You would expect that most likely you might sort of see some selling should we sort of push up into this area. I mean, it's not a guarantee that it will push up, and it's not a guarantee if it pushes up that it'll stop you. I mean, nothing's a guarantee with these sort of things. But just from a strict structural sort of standpoint, this is an area in which you could expect to see at least a pushback from the markets to sort of say, hey, look, you know what, we're selling this thing now. We tried to hold it here, chance to get out from even next to even. Let's take it, and then bang, maybe see another wave down. So let's just drag this sort of stuff down here. And then we can start to sort of see, if this were to be the case, where may it sort of go to afterwards? And obviously maybe a continuation of this channel down. So the flip side of this is if we do push through this area here. So if we come up over to here, to 104, what are we at, 104.20 or so. and break through to this side here. Then we sort of test to see if, like they were trying to hold it last night, if again they can hold it and then they can move up like this. So I think, look, both of these scenarios probably see a little bit of a sort of push up in US dollar in early sort of Asia and sort of corresponding trades with that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a little bit of a push here. But this is the area that I want to see what happens along around the sort of 414. We're at 405 now, or 104.14, 104.5. But I think this is an area in which we're going to get a bit of a definition of whether, we're going to break back up, whether we're going to come back down, maybe just range this low area down here, or if we're going to break a little bit lower. While I do that, I'll have a quick look. I don't think we've actually got much data again today. Been very quiet, like particularly in Asia sessions recently. And as you can see, yeah, we haven't really got anything. I'm just trying to look at what, I mean, there wasn't really any sort of catalyst around 2 o'clock in the morning as to sort of why they gave up that level. I mean, we had PMIs and that, which came in slightly better than expected. Yeah, slightly better than expected. That's obviously sort of kept it a little bit sort of elevated, but obviously despite this, still sold it down. Um, but I can't see any sort of catalyst around 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock or whenever it was that it actually sort of gave way. I'm just having a look now. It's 4 o'clock there. Yeah, around 2 to 4 in the morning. No, not really anything sort of through here. So just gave up that level, it seems. But as I said, look, not much data coming out through Asia, so nothing to really sort of stand in its way. So look, as I said, we're starting to see it push up a little bit here. See what happens. Again, look, 12 o'clock, so about 40, 50 minutes or so now. Well, 40, 48 minutes, 47 minutes. That'll sort of, I think, give us a little bit of direction of sort of what we're going to see through the rest of the session. But that's pretty much a fair sort of call for me. I think a little bit of a push up here, retest, and then sort of come back down here. If we jump onto the higher time frame, I'm pretty sure this red area here is quite a sort of, as you can see, this has been area that we've actually marked out a number of times as to being support, support, support. So again, the fact that you've broken through and you've come back could just be a break and retest of this area to sort of see if they're trying to do the same thing that they were doing here, holding it, holding it, holding it, holding it. I mean, this has been an absolute rip. As you can see, it's closer up to the 78% retracement of that whole move back down there. So, look, it's a bit hard to sort of call and sort of say it's the top, particularly with election sort of stuff coming up in 2 weeks, and everybody seeing, well, everybody, a lot of what I seem to see is people sort of like harping on about sort of Trump trades and tariffs and all this kind of thing, and all the tariffs that he's talking about is going to add to inflation, and because the inflation's going up, of course, that's what's adding to the sort of US dollar strength side. But remember they just did a 50 base point cut not that long ago. And look at the move since. Geez, that's just been absolutely insane. So anyway, that's a bigger sort of picture for us. For right here, right now, it has sort of pulled back a little bit. If we look at just this last little push up here, we can see that, if this were to be coming here, around 50% of that retracement there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a bit of a push down, pop this up into here. I think this would be an area where even if we do get this push up and then another leg down, we may see a little bit of buying around this 103.85. So I'd put that as your sort of downside target. Should it push up and reject back down to this side over here? I mean, we've seen previously, buyers were here, so we can expect that there's going to be a little bit of buying action through this area as well, particularly if it comes down in this sort of fashion and you've got this potential. That's not really a big sort of falling resistance here, but you could be sort of seeing a bit more of a continuation of this channel coming back down over here. But I would say downside target, at least through the session, would be 103.85. If you do break above this sort of like falling resistance and above this horizontal, then that's the potential to sort of see just a bit more of a push back up, and then we'll sort of start to look at some topside targets over here as to where it sort of may sort of come up to. But yeah, first point of call is to sort of see a little bit of a push up here and see if they reject it and sort of sell it down and take out those lows. That'll be the confirmation, taking out overnight lows. All right, flip across, we've got gold. Excuse me. So gold and silver played out pretty much as kind of thought yesterday. So if you watch what I was doing, it was the head and shoulders play that we were looking for. This idea that sort of like, coming back down into this area, up into the sell area where we've seen the sellers previously, to then sort of potentially come down here. Now, we did get a bit of a push down, but obviously, as you can see, bought straight back up. And as it's come back up, silver actually completed more of the head and shoulders, or a little bit more structurally than gold has here. So the fact that it came down, came back up, doesn't mean it's out of the woods, because sort of like, you know what I mean, it's obviously stalled, and it's stalled where we sort of have seen sellers previously, as I said, on the way up here, and as you can see, for quite some time, these are 4 hour candles. That's 20 hours that's unable to get past these 37, 38 levels. So and we're seeing it sort of push down a little bit now. As I said, with DXY potentially having a little bit of a push up, this will obviously sort of most likely see a little bit of a push down here. I think if you come back down here and you complete this move, so into your head and shoulders down here, then I think you are looking down at 26.85. But you need the close down over here. It's a bit of a funny neckline, but even if you call it like this, which I guess you got the wicks here, you got the body fills here. So underneath 14, a close down here. So close lower than these body candle closes. I think is going to be a good short trade back down to this 26.85, which of course we know is the previous highs, which would give us a nice sort of structural break, retest, and then potentially see if buyers are happy to sort of step in around this level. Look, again, it's very hard to call at the moment because this, at the moment, if we actually zoom down and put it around this is just consolidating. It's consolidating the right shoulder. So put a little breakout box on this. So realistically, your two sort of courses of trade here are one, the head and shoulders, which we've got our target to the downside over here, or two would be your 3 drive up here, which could potentially, if this gets onto it, see a move up to put in a new high, and then it sort of comes back down. So, if you get a close up above 40, then, you're potentially looking at something where you could say 1, 2, 3, like this. And you could have one drive, 2 drives, stalls, and 3 drives. And say it comes up to like, 27.75. But in either event, I think sort of it's either coming back down here now early, or if it does manage to rally and move up over here, I think that'll be it. I think that'll sort of see 1, 2, 3 drive, and then I think then we'll get a better short position to sell from up over here. At the moment, this is just, it's too tough to call because obviously sold down, bought straight back up. I mean, we've seen DXY on an absolute rip at the moment. So, you know what I mean? Like, if DXY continues to cool off, I think these guys are going to flip back um, into their sort of typical kind of relationship of inverse. I mean, they have been running obviously concurrently for the last couple of weeks, really. So I think this is a little area here. If we get a breakdown underneath here, particularly if you take out that wick at 22, your target's a 14, a close under 14, you're looking at 85. I think that's the head and shoulders move. If we do the upside, I think the sort of 1, 2, 3 drive will take you up here, take out all the liquidity up the top over here. All these people that, I mean, this is a great short down through this area here. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of people that stops up around here. Depends if they want to just screw them out first and then sort of rip it back down. But I think we're getting close to a medium-term top with gold. Silver. Actually, sorry, let's just get back onto gold quickly for 2 seconds. Put it back onto the 1 hour. We are seeing this dribble along to the side here. These dribbles have a chance to sort of boom, like in a short term, underneath 30 with a close, I think will be your sort of signal for it all. Let's see what happens. We've still got 40 minutes till 12. These things can potentially do these like down and then just jam right back up. I mean, gold does typically like to do that kind of stuff. So let's move that out there, and let's say a close outside this box, 39 to 31. Yeah, so I think that's a decent confirmation, because as you can see, obviously we tried to go above it, no, rejected, and rejected quite hard, came down, bang, back up into this. Really, it's just consolidating the right shoulder. A close outside this box will be confirmation for me for the direction. All right, flip across, we've got silver, and silver, as you can see, sort of completed a bit more of that head and shoulders we were looking for. This was an area of interest, as I said yesterday, and as you can see, market came straight into it and then absolutely poleaxed it. So we went from 34.25, 33. So that's again another buck move down to the downside through here. So, it did. The thing that sort of works in favor of this potentially having another push is just on the fact that although this structurally has completed the head and shoulders with the right shoulder and pushed down, it was unable to close underneath there. And I think the fact that it was unable to close underneath there is almost like a failed breakout attempt. If this was the structure, if the head and shoulders was the play, fine, we've got our price target down over here. But the failure to continue in that direction, I think, is something that kind of negates the head and shoulders. You know what I mean? It perfectly had the time to do it. I mean, it structurally rejected exactly where it was supposed to. It found support exactly where it was supposed to, and then came down here. This was the time for it to go. But obviously, people sort of hanging around here bought it straight back up. So I think I mean, this could still go. Like as I said, cover all bases and that. But I think if we sort of drag that across there, I think this is your kind of line to pay attention to. If we go above this sort of falling resistance, I think it negates this head and shoulders. And we again, like same with the gold and the metals, we see a little bit of a push. And I think it sort of gets people because this is a strong sell down, we bought back up. Strong sell down, bought back up. I think a lot of people will be expecting, okay, the next wave push back down. Okay, we're coming down here, coming down. To me, that sort of seems like a perfect setup to really rip it up to the top side to take out those people, because that's a bit too much of an easy trade, isn't it? You know what I mean? We're sold down, bang, you moved up, sold down again. I mean, you know what I mean? Like sometimes because it's so obvious, you think the pain trade is obviously on the other side. So, a little flip of past 70, take out that little, as you can see, it's really just sort of sitting there sideways at the moment. It's not really doing too much. Look, a close down underneath this neckline means that this is just a little stall, and then bang, we melt down. But to me, it almost sort of seems like, as I said, it's a little bit too obvious a trade. And also the fail to break and hold underneath, to me, is almost like a failed breakout. And as we know, failed breakouts can be as good as an actual breakout, just in the opposite direction. Because a lot of people are trading this. I mean, a lot of people would have seen this happening, and they waited till here. You know what I mean? Like they don't sort of, like yesterday, I called this and I drew this up, when was it, on, I don't know, Wednesday or something. And I said, look, this is the area we want to find support. This is potentially the head and shoulders. You know what I mean? Like you're not waiting till, oh, here we go, here's a neckline, now let's enter. You know what I mean? This is how they smash people, because they wait till people sort of get in at this point. Whoop, they wait till people sort of get in at this point here, because technically the textbook says it's gone through the neckline, so they add their short positions here. Maybe put my stop up over here. Well, rip up, take out the stops. You know what I mean? Like that's why I think sometimes sort of like if it's too obvious, that's when you can sort of pick those sort of reversal trades. It doesn't mean that sort of silver's necessarily destined for 35 in this run, um, but it does sort of mean that there is an argument for both sides. Obviously, one being the head and shoulders actually does play out, and two being that's too easy a trade. Let's get the people that got in here and put their stops where the textbook said up here. I mean, that's a big stop, 80 cents or something. I mean, well, even from down here, it's 90 cents. these are just fictional numbers that are, or fictional levels that I've made up, but it is the kind of thing that the textbook would say. Wait till the neckline breaks, there's your target. Straightforward. So let's just sort of see what happens at 12 o'clock, because as I said, I feel this has got, particularly if we see DXY push up, silver's not necessarily pushing down. If DXY pushes sells, like I said before, if we go back onto DXY, if we do, excuse me, this little move here and another wave down here, this wave down here will be the time in which you see metals push back up here a little bit. So I think in short term, you've got a chance to sort of push up here. I mean, I'd go as far as to even sort of say this would be more of what you're trading with at the moment. Whoops. That. Which doesn't mean you're necessarily going to 35, as I said. But it does mean that, you could potentially see DXY sell off for a little bit till it hits that 61%. This could give a push up to the top side of this range. DXY rallies, bang, there we go down over that time there. Once you've sort of taken out a bit of that sort of liquidity. Look, could come back tomorrow, do the weekend review and find it's all the way down over here. I mean, that's the name of the game. And this is why, sort of, as I said, if you get the second push down under here, and if we see, the buyers are keen here, the buyers are keen here, the buyers are keen here, if we see that stuff happen, and there's, so as in like, a close down here, so the buyers aren't here anymore, well, okay, fine, yes, we know where it's most likely going, and it's going back down to 32.20, so that'll offer a good little short. But I think, at the same time, there is an argument for the idea that we could push back up above 34, and then sort of melt down a little bit. Speaking of which, just while we do those, have a look at what we're looking at with the gold-silver ratio. So obviously this is something that's to keep in mind, particularly when you're trading the metals. Pushing up, we're going to see weaker metals. As you can see, this was that big breakout the other day, and you can see gold-silver ratio came right down over here. So, we've come down here, nice little, almost a bit of a head and shoulders. I don't trade this enough to know if these kind of technical setups work with gold, like this particular market or ratio. I don't know if it's necessarily a market even. But look, this is an area that I obviously thought we'd find a little bit of a bounce. Obviously came down a little bit further, but we have bounced up a bit. And now we're sort of, as I said, as you can see with the markets as well, stalling a little bit here, technically overbought a bit. So if we do see this sort of push back down over here, this is when we're going to see those sort of little push-ups in the metals as well. So I do think there's a little bit of argument for this. If it does push up over here, well, that's most likely you're going to see a big move all the way back up over here, and you're going to see metals like silver come down to 32, low 32s at least. All right, flip across. We got Aussie still under pressure, trying its hardest. Like this was the call yesterday to get that little bit of a rally up there. We did. If we get onto the lower time frame here, look, I thought maybe potentially a bit of a inverted head and shoulders. Seemed decent enough. Maybe this was the measured move here, because that seems to have lined up a little bit better. It's always hard when you're doing these inverted head and shoulders when you've got a long spike out the top of it. So, I mean, only purely for my own sort of knowledge, am I checking this too here, because this is your spike, and then this, oops, not that one. That's your bigger body, like your neckline. So, as you can see, so maybe potentially next time to sort of find the little price target, we can just use the bodies and ignore the little extra wick down the bottom there. Because, I mean, inverted head and shoulders, was there, broke, break, retest, and then it's gone up. And if that was the price target, then it's hit it. If we do it with the spike, well, it didn't hit it. So, just something to keep in mind for trading Aussie for a while. I used to trade a lot of inverted head and shoulders with Aussies, but I haven't seen it a great deal come up a lot recently, actually, to tell you the truth. So, just interesting. Anyway, So let's get on to a higher time frame here. Look, it's obviously still in this little, sell down period. This is our area that we want to see hold at the moment. This and this is our little potential ranges. Again, look, buys came back in a little bit earlier than they had previously, so you can always sort of drag a little bit of a trend line through these. Not that it's a major one. I think both things, if you take out this little trend that's trying to pick up here, you take out yesterday's wick, so underneath 21, I think, you're coming down, test underneath 66. I do think that we potentially have a little bit more of upside push to come. As I said, I think we have a bit of DXY weakness potentially coming through, which will give us another push back up here. So again, these are your two levels here to beat. If you come up over, if you come up and you take out yesterday's, arrow not working. If you take out yesterday's highs, that's also going to be pushing through this little sort of short, medium term falling resistance, which means up over here. If you take out yesterday's low, so 21, and the wicks over there, I think you're going to be coming down, as I said, down to these levels over here. So I think that's really the trade, which, a lot of these things aren't super exciting because it's kind of like, okay, let's wait for those sort of wider ranges to break. But I think that's just a testament to, the market at the moment. Like it's not an easy read. Hindsight's always great, but, remember, Aussie has come way, 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 way down over here, and it just continues to get sold into. It has sort of flattened out, maybe a little bit, like the drops aren't sort of too bad, but as you can see, you got your lows here, lows, 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 even, as of now. So, you know what I mean? Like, if this does sort of, move across, along here, there is potential that you just have a little bit of a range through this period here. And then you sort of go, okay, well, where would our price targets be with this? This would be your measured move, I guess, if this were to sort of continue as a bit of a range. Slide over here, and that slide over here, which gives us, 65.90 or potentially back up to 66.90 for a top side move there. But again, once you're doing that, you're coming into these sellers over here where we've seen them be previously. So you got sellers here, sellers here. So if you do get up over here, most likely that's your top side target with a break of 60, because that'll take you out of this little downtrend channel. Excuse me. It would take you past yesterday's previous highs, put in a higher low. So that'd give you a higher low, a higher high, and potentially something to this effect. I'm not a big fan of this, but that is the kind of idea that you could be looking towards in that. But I think, again, top side, any sort of rally is going to be sold into. And I think sort of 66.90 is your cap for now. So, yeah, bit of a swing trade potential there. Okay, flip across, we've got copper. Copper I made to a T yesterday. So, yesterday through the thing, we were about this point here. I got long on copper. I didn't ride it all the way to the top over here. Excuse me. But this is literally what I was saying. There was a 1% move in it through here. That's why this arrow's here. Because we can see sellers have been here, sellers have been here, sellers have been here. Yeah, broke through, came back, sellers again, and this is why our target was here. And not only did it sort of hit this, it hit it and almost to this point, sold down and just got crushed afterwards and bounced back up as it did. And this is the sort of odd thing with the markets at the moment, like as in, these couple of hours moments. It's smashed down, it's bounced back up, and it's just gone super flat, super quiet. I mean, all in all, we're moving along sideways. So this is what I was saying earlier in the week, that, we're around this point over here. You've got this section in these sort of technical setups, you kind of want to fill it out, and then we get our breaks. So point still remains, this is the level to get above, 442. This time, if you get above it, well, you're most likely going to be coming out of the out of this through this falling resistance as well. So I think you've got two segments of the market that might be watching it to sort of say, hey, well, you know what, this is a potential area for us. Um, where you've got sort of the horizontals break, you've got the the falling resistance break, and that could give you a little bit of a bit of a push. But as of right now, it's tough because this could very much be sell down, resistance, sorry, support, resistance. Let's test this support and see if you're going to put in a higher low down over here, or double bottom, or lower low. So it's a tough call at the moment. Things are really not sort of giving too much away. China, uh, look, it's respecting the chart. That's all I can really say. I pretty much skim over China because there's not a great deal to sort of say unless they're like really breaking up higher or lower. It does these grinds, and this is why I keep like the charts get quite messy sometimes. But this is the thing. It's all sort of showing where we think buying action may come back in, and this is exactly where it did come back in. This level here. So if this is selling down, we got a bounce. Again, super flat. This is on 4 hours, so it hasn't really been doing much overnight. If this breaks this level down here, well, this is the level that we're kind of looking at. And then potentially, if it breaks that, when it breaks that, if it does, we come down here and we sort of maybe even close this gap from 2 weeks ago. But certainly, this is your breakout line to go higher because we've seen the sellers have held it a bunch of times. We've seen it historically be sort of like, a sell zone. So I think this is really what you need to sort of see, whether you sort of take out these lows over here, or whether we sort of get a push down here and then just range and grind this top area over here. But I think that's kind of your breakout box there through there. So if we see a sort of a break and close either side of this, I think that'll give us our direction. Obviously, downside, we're going to be seeing a little bit of US dollar weakness across the board as well. It'll be seeing Aussie appreciate up a little bit. As I said previously, everything's could be this way, that way kind of thing, which is a bit wish-washy, but that's just how the market is at the moment. This whole sort of election thing is really starting to weigh into stuff on the markets. DXY has just been on an absolute rip. So, as I said, this is why I sort of, use a couple of charts, look for the confirmations, and you can sort of see, hopefully try and sort of pick out a couple of trades in a bit of direction. But as I said, I think DXY, a little bit of a push, and then another leg down, at least in the short term, before it finds a little bit more significant buying. I don't think this is like the top of DXY, but I think we could potentially see a little bit of a weaker USD into week close. All right. As I said, I already went over the news, and it's not really too much to report. So, yeah, that's pretty much it from me.